Well, before I was so rudely interrupted by pushing the wrong button on my Stream Deck, I was saying that I wanted to tell you about the um, the upcoming workshop, Business and Legal Fundamentals for Podcast Growth and Success that I'm going to be hosting next week on Monday, the 17th day of October. There's the link in the on the screen and in the comments for the show as well. I think I've got it in there in the comments, but if not, go on over to event.podcastlaw.net and join me for this interesting workshop where I'll be sharing with you some of the big mistakes that podcasters are making that hold them back and keep them from achieving everything that they wish, and uh, and how to avoid that so they can take their podcast to the most professional level, the next level, and really make a go of it with their podcast. So please join me for event.podcastlaw.net for that workshop. And I look forward to being there with you. And so, continuing on the discussion of shows on, it seems like we're focusing on Spotify. Again, from Pod News from yesterday, Friday the 7th, there was a discussion about Kim Kardashian's new show. The new show is called, let me see if I can remember what the show is called. I'm jumping over to an article from The Independent. She is revisiting the case of a convicted murderer named Kevin Keith. He says he didn't commit the crime. The System with Kim Kardashian began airing earlier this week on Monday the 3rd on Spotify. And Spotify today announced that in its first week, the show has outstripped the Joe Rogan Experience, and it has outstripped Meghan Markle's show, and took the #1 spot on Spotify. Now, I'm going to take that with a little grain of salt. To my way of thinking, Spotify, they control their metrics, and they can measure things in a way that makes it work for them from a public relations standpoint. Obviously, they've poured some money into this new show with Kim, and they want to make a go of it. So they're going to announce that it's a successful show, and I'm sure it is doing quite well. Don't get me wrong, but the metrics can be manipulated when you adjust what you're counting and how you're counting it and when you're counting it and those kinds of things. So, needless to say, it's an interesting show. I think that personally, my take is that Kim is trying to be the next Serial with that show. Obviously, she's been going to law school and crusading for some social justice kinds of issues, and I think that's commendable. We'll see if the show continues. And it also came out this week that the show is being criticized by a couple of the survivors of the victims in this multiple murder case that she is working on investigating. And that kind of criticism, maybe I'm being cynical, but that kind of criticism is also good for business. And so they're sort of happy to have, that kind of attention coming to them. I'm sure, again, those victims have some valid points to be made, but this actually came up for me in a class that I teach on media ethics and law. And my students were, it was a variation on it. They were talking about a different scenario, but when the Ted Bundy, not Ted Bundy, the Dahmer film on Netflix, and asking ethically, is Netflix okay doing this show that is essentially opening old wounds for the victims of the murderer? And we were talking about whether or not there's any legal recourse to them, and I suspect there probably isn't. The rights of privacy, the right of publicity, and defamation don't really come into play in a situation like this unless they are somehow trashing the reputations of the victims and the victims' families, and that's really not what the TV show or the film is about. They are really talking about the person, and I think a lot of the upset is about they're humanizing the killer. In this case, Jeffrey Dahmer. And in the Kim Kardashian situation, the fellow that Kevin Keith, in order to make good storytelling, you end up telling a story about who this person was, and sometimes that brings out human characteristics, makes them seem more real, more there's more depth to them than just serial killer or just multiple murderer, and that can be painful for the victims' families who have only perceived them in a certain way. So, but legally speaking, there's not much that can be done about that. So, while we know that Kim Kardashian is receiving criticism from these families, these survivors, I'm suspecting that it will end there. We won't hear about any litigation or lawsuits on the subject, and this will just be more publicity for the show. So there's that. What else has been news this week? Let me think. There was, I'm looking at the Pod News site, so let me just see here. There's the story about the hospital being doxxed and phone banks being inundated by callers after listening to a podcast that called out something on the hospital, and it overwhelmed the switchboard at the hospital and those kinds of things. There's another question of media ethics now. If you're in the media and you're making a show, is it ethical to engage in that kind of calling out a hospital, calling out people by name, revealing their personal information about them so that they receive who knows what kinds of calls? Could be death threats, could be all kinds of overwhelm going on there. And personally, I don't think it's ethical or responsible media. But anyway, hey, if you are watching now, I would love it if you would post something in the comments so I know you're here. I am, for some reason, not seeing any comments. If you've been saying anything, podcastlaw.net and .com showing up there. Good. Yeah, the event.podcastlaw. You know, while I do this, I'm going to just come back to put that on the screen. The event.podcastlaw.net is where I'm hosting the workshop on Monday, Business and Legal Fundamentals for Podcast Growth and Profit. I hope you can join me. It's going to be an interesting session where we talk about mistakes that podcasters make that hold them back from the kinds of success and profit that they really wish they wanted, wish they had, and I hope you can join for that. And it'll be Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So come on over and join me for that. And I look forward to seeing you on Monday. So if I don't see anybody else commenting, nobody's got anything to say today, I guess. So let me open up my streams and see what's going on here. Hopefully it won't give me sound at the same time. All right. Closing down some tabs it's opened in a bunch of different tabs all at once. That's what I get for going live on 5 different services at the same time. I'm working with a tool called Ecamm Live, and the beta version of this is doing the multi-streaming really brilliantly, and it lets me go live from one interface to Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitch and Twitter and a few others as well, and it's pretty cool. So if you haven't tried it before, try it now. It's really, really good. But there we have it. So just to recap what we've been talking about today, the podcasters behind the show, where's the title of it again? Sex Lies and DM Slides, have complained that Spotify has gone on and done their show without them, when in fact Spotify's position is, it's our show, we own it, we're going to do what we want. And I think that's right from a legal standpoint, unless these ladies did a bang-up job of negotiating their deal early on. Odds are Spotify is in fact the owner. And I just have to say, hey, what did you think you were doing when you made the deal to sell your show to Spotify, if you didn't think that they would be able to do this, if for some reason you didn't continue or the relationship with you broke down or something like that? A couple of things that a good negotiation could have achieved probably were overlooked, one of which would be an exclusive right to remain on for the life of the show as its hosts and producers, and therefore to receive revenues, but also possibly what we call a reversion, where at the end of the relationship and the show was canceled, well, then the rights go back to the creators of the show, or treat it differently and do it as a licensing agreement. But when Spotify's going to pay for the show to happen, and they're going to use their personnel to make the production, they're going to want to own what they create, and that's not at all unreasonable in my view. So that was point one. Kim Kardashian, big success with her show, receiving some criticism. Spotify's also canceling a bunch of shows at this time, and the owners of those shows probably should not expect that they'll get the creators of those shows should not expect that they'll see anything more come of it, and some of them are being laid off. So that's the news from Pod News from just the last day. It's funny, I go on a trip and I don't do my normal Thursday thing, and what happens? Big news breaks in the podcast law space. So anyway, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for watching, and I'm going to just stick around. If anybody's got anything to chat about, I would love to do it. If you've got questions or comments, drop them in the comment box and let's have a conversation. Daniel Hernandez, very excited to have me joining the Brooklyn Law School on their panel this month. Daniel, I'm excited about it as well. Thank you for mentioning that. We're, a couple of weeks from now? I think it's the 25th or the 26th. And Brooklyn Law School is having a panel on, I guess it's the entertainment law section there, Entertainment and Sports Law Society, doing a panel about using technology in a practice, and particularly to market and grow a practice. And I'll be telling my story, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for mentioning that, Daniel. And what else have I got? Other comments? Nobody's got anything to say. Something. I wonder if the comment tool in here is not capturing things from all the sources. So in any event, I think I'm going to call it a day, wrap it up today, and thank you for watching. And look for something from me again on Thursday when I do my normal Legit Podcast Pro live stream session. And I don't know what I'll be talking about this Thursday, but I'll see you then. In the meantime, don't forget, come on over and join me for the Business and Legal Fundamentals for Growth and Profit with your podcast. Go to event.podcastlaw.net. Join me Monday, October 17th at 9 a.m. And I look forward to sharing that with you. And my button didn't work. There we go. That's me. You're back with me. And there's the link, event.podcastlaw.net. And I'll see you again. Hope to see you there. And that's it. That's going to be it for now. I'll see you again on Thursday. Have a wonderful Saturday. Great weekend. And may the coming week be wonderful for you as well. Take care.